Earth's history, when it has had a stable climate, what we've done is brought about a massive disruption in the temperature, leading scientists to call this period as the Anthropocene. So not the Holocene, but the Anthropocene, a change which is brought about by humans in the Earth's climate. And it's quite, if you think back and say, oh my God, a species that can actually disturb 10,000 years of stable climate. Yeah, that's us. Coupled with this is, of course, our growing human population, slated to touch 9 billion in the next 30 years or so. So this, along with an unstable climate, is a short recipe for disaster. What needs to be done now? And this is something that it's no longer theory or no longer in books. We are already seeing what's happening in Chennai. We can see changes everywhere. I mean, you have seasons which are delayed, unseasonal rains, or huge rainfall in shorter periods. So changes in weather and climate, that's occurring all across, giving rise to all kinds of environmental disasters. So this is something that we see. Even a person who doesn't understand science can actually see this. The common man sees that, yes, there is a change. And we feel the change. Rains in November, completely unheard of. This is going to affect agriculture and food cycles and eventually, our very life itself. So this is all result of this 1.5 degrees change that we've been able to, bring in. So air quality, what we see in Delhi today, I mean, it's quite unfathomable if you think of around 20, 25 years ago. If one would say, oh, the quality is going to be so bad that people are going to use masks or fit in air purifiers, people would have said, are you crazy? This kind of thing is not going to happen. But to me, if I recall, my own childhood when we used to travel by train, I remember that I didn't hesitate to drink the water off the railway platform. I mean, that's what we did. You carried your bottles, you filled the water off the railway platforms, and the water was perfectly good quality. I would never dare to do it today. I mean, I would never drink water because you're not really sure of the quality of the water. So ocean chemistry, definitely yes. Species, which was initially one species going extinct in 100 years, which is what we call as background extinction, a natural process. Today, to almost one every 10 years. I mean, this we are talking of the bigger mammals and species that we can see. We're not even looking at plants and all of those insects and frogs, which have never been even estimated so far. So all of these unprecedented ways in which we change, all a result of the kind of development that brings about this rise in GDP. But at the same time, it causes, these kind of problems. So I'd like you to go back to menti.com. We have two short mentees actually, and use this code to answer the question, what according to you are the challenges that the earth faces today? So if you're done with this, then I want you to go to the menti.com again and use this code to answer the question, what are the solutions according to you for the challenges that you listed out? So it's very interesting. Yeah. So this is what you can see. Right. So what are the various challenges that the world faces today? Yeah. So it's a word cloud. So if a lot of people have written climate change, climate change will come up as the bigger font. So I can see climate change. Yeah. Pollution, poverty, deforestation, water. Yeah. Writing skills. So the top three, as you've put it, as poverty, pollution, climate change, and unemployment. Now, I would like you to go through all of these problems. I mean, there are a lot of problems which have been written in different forms, so they have not shown up. Can you find any pattern? Because I definitely see a pattern here. Okay, let's look at another one. Let's look at the other one, where we talked of solutions, and you talked of solutions as to what are the solutions to these challenges. And here also I can see a connect between the previous one and now. Because this is always how it comes out. So I'm just sort of making it obvious. You said, okay, sustainable approach, sustainable development, awareness, yes, reduce and recycle, kindness, very good, trust, yes, absolutely good, sensitivity, fantastic, holistic thinking, yeah, equality, yeah, very beautiful, very beautiful, very, very beautiful solutions that, you have really come up with. And to me, the connect between what you showed, in terms of challenges and in terms of the solutions is this, right? So what you highlighted there were all local problems. Okay, leaving aside the one which is climate change, which is also a cumulative result of of local problems coming together. So we saw how the various local problems that you have listed, whether it's deforestation or pollution or lack of awareness, or water scarcity, all of these, or lack of sensitivity, they're all local problems. And these local problems are definitely leading to global problems. So climate change is a manifestation of the local problems that we are seeing. And the second slide that you put out, and all of you did it so beautifully with all the solutions. I think you really thought when you put in those human dimensions of solutions as well, is the solutions are also local. So what we have is local solutions for our local problems. And if we are able to deal with the local problems through our local solutions, it can lead to a global solution, which in turn can help us combat the overall global problem of climate change, right? And this is what you brought out. I mean, this is what we always do. But very often we don't really see this connection. We say, oh, it is somebody else's problem. It's not. And as you have put it down here, all the problems that you wrote about are something that you experience around you. And the solutions also that you wrote about are solutions that are within your own hands. So we create the problems and we have the solution. And if we just work with these two, the upper two, may never happen at all. And this brings us to this concept of, there's an error, the spelling there is planetary boundaries. So I'm not sure how many of you have heard about this concept of planetary boundaries, which was first put forth by Johan Rockström from the Swedish Institute of Sustainable Development. What Johan Rockström, that Dr. Rockström and his team did was, they actually found a way to measure the ecological ceiling of the earth, or the planetary boundary of the earth. So which is how much can the earth absorb or contain. So they divided the different boundaries into these sectors, which is ozone layer depletion, as you can see here, climate change, ocean acidification, chemical pollution, nitrogen and phosphorus loading, freshwater withdrawals, land conversion, biodiversity loss. So in all of these different sectors, 9 actually, they measured if the earth had overshot the ecological ceiling. And to their surprise, they found that yes, the earth has overshot this ecological ceiling in at least 4 of the sectors: climate change, nitrogen and phosphorus loading, land conversion, and biodiversity loss. While the other 4 sectors are concerned, we are still not exceeded the ecological ceiling, which means there is still hope in terms of keeping it under control, right? So he said that once this ceiling has been breached, once the planetary boundary has been breached, yeah, it would be very difficult for us to reverse the processes to get the earth back to its habitable solution. I would really encourage you to read this report and watch this video if you haven't, because it's fantastic the way they've done this particular study. And then we had another lady called as Kate Raworth, who said, okay, if this is how the ecological ceiling is determined, and this is the boundary that we as the people of the planet should not breach, what about the social ceiling? Is there a social ceiling? And she came up with this thing, and she said that if the outer circle demonstrates the ecological ceiling, then the inner circle demonstrates the social foundation, which means that if people do not reach the center point of that inner circle, there is a shortfall. And this shortfall is in various different sectors. And these are the sectors. There is food. Do people have enough food to eat? Do they have access to good health, a good education? Do they have access to decent work? Do they have access to justice? Do they have a political voice? Is there social equity in society? Is there gender equality? Do they have access to good housing, social networks, energy, and water? And what she found was this, that everything doesn't come to the center. So ideally the red should be completely filled, but it's not. And this also can be looked at differently in terms of emerging economies and the developed countries. So you have the developed countries where the social foundation, you know, um, or the inner circle, as I would say, is achieved. And these developed nations, they have actually overshot the ecological ceiling. But you have countries like India and other emerging nations where there is a shortfall, as the arrow shows, in the social foundation. We have people who yet do not have access to the minimum that is essential for a good quality of life,